Remember what it was like to be a kid? To explore and play. To roam free all day. In Jamestown, North Carolina, we get out of the grind and escape into the moment. People feel good here. Let loose here. Eat well here. Feel swell here. We go for a ride or an afternoon stroll. We cheer each other on. And go for the goal. Here, a treasured history meets the energy of a town on the rise. In a place with true heart and soul, and where we have our own special beat. Jamestown, North Carolina, where history and possibility meet.
I'd like to call this meeting to order for August 22nd, 2023 meeting, and would ask for the town clerk to please call the roll.
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
Councilmember Capes.
Here.
Mayor Montgomery is absent. Councilmember Strawn.
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. And I did fail to mention that our mayor is feeling under the weather, otherwise she would be here, so we all just wish her a speedy recovery. If we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You would please bow your head for just a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, we're now going to ask for if you have any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented tonight. Not, then would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have one question about the consent agenda.
Okay.
Has Beth approved or had a chance to go over the MOU?
I believe so.
I see it says nothing substantial has been changed, but that would be my question.
I believe so, but I don't know if the one
Well, I can say I was at a TAC meeting this morning, and that's what this memorandum of understanding is about. And all of the entities that are members of that, it's just that the current one we had expires in October, and so we're renewing it. The only substantial change, I thought it was something with the census and the boundaries for Winston-Salem and Greensboro. Jamestown still stays all in High Point's jurisdiction. That was the only, you talked about no substantial changes. So if that answers your question.
It does. Are you guys satisfied with it 100%?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay, did you have something, John?
No, I was just going to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And I should vote too. Aye. Okay. All right. Then we will approve. Thank you. Has anyone signed up for the first public comment?
Yes, Sherry Richmond.
Okay. And you know, Ms. Sherry, please state your name and address and adhere to the 3 minutes, please, ma'am.
Okay, I grew a little short for this.
I understand.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Just fine.
Okay, thank you. Sherry Richmond, 601 Tangle Drive, Jamestown. And I'm here about digital signage because some friends have called me. They seem to be a little shy about coming forward, and I don't understand that, but maybe you do. So I tried to find a guiding principle that would apply, and then I have a few short comments. Guiding principle number 2, I'm stretching it a little bit so you can chuckle if you'd like. But as the strength of our community is directly tied to the long-term success of our neighborhoods, we will work diligently to promote and maintain the quality of life and aesthetic standards that our residents expect in Jamestown to prevent the emergence of blighting influences. I don't know if digital lighting is considered blighting. In some places it's not. It's very helpful. But in Jamestown, we've got some situations. One of the residents' secondhand information, because it came from the next door neighbor, there are 2 neighbors you probably know, one of them said that it was driving him crazy. That's quoted secondhand. And then the other person I know in several meetings, we're together in several organizations, and she said that she can't sit in one of the rooms out on that side because of that flashing. So these are 2 residences. And if this is if there are changes and this one is grandfathered, it really doesn't help the people who live there. And one of them is in a historic home, so it's kind of ironic that something would be grandfathered when one of the historic homes has been there for a long time. I guess maybe I see the irony, maybe no one else does. But let's see what else I wrote down here. Yes, one person said she couldn't use that area of the house because of the flashing. And if you have a time frame when it cuts off, maybe that would be helpful, but if it's in the daytime, if it's at night, it's still flashing. And I think in the daytime, she said she still sees that. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that, on my house. So I guess my question is, why do we even need to allow more digital signage at all? The monument signs are really nice. We have some good ideas for monument signs, or maybe a sign that just has a light in it that doesn't flash, just a solid light. So could we adjust our signage ordinances for that? Where the business would have something, but yet it not be a distraction. Maybe illuminated inside. There's another digital signage on Guilford College Road, and it flashes every second. 1001, I timed it, 1002. So 1001 it turns, 1002 it turns. So that's grandfathered too. So maybe some changes would be nice for Jamestown. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
We have anyone else?
Yes, Robert Frederick.
Okay.
Robert Frederick, 500 Windwood Drive. Mayor Pro Tem, council, staff, fellow citizens. It was only in June that council passed a contested budget that included a 20% property tax increase and, for the first time, a $30 fee per vehicle. The extra amount of funds passed and raised from those 2 new taxes are going to be about $600,000. And the total budget council passed for the general fund was about $7.2 million worth of revenue. And because budgets are required to be balanced by state law, there were $7.2 million worth of planned expenses. Even so, with all the expenses y'all committed to in previous years, town hall renovations, golf course bathrooms, recreation maintenance building at double the initial estimate, the budget numbers show in today's budget there are $8 million in expenses. And that difference between what you budgeted, the $7.2 million, and what you'll be spending this year, $8 million, that difference of exactly $788,043.67 is being taken out of Jamestown's fund balance. Find that figure in the bottom of page 39 of your packet as labeled, or page 42 of the PDF. Now, I know some of you, and Mr. Capes particularly, because he mentioned it at the budget meeting, doesn't like a budget with lots of detail. But it sure would be nice for we who do like detail to see it. And I don't just mean in today's packet. I mean what's required by state law. In particular, you've raised our taxes for reasons we, the public, don't get. And the budget message required by state law prior to the public hearing, explaining that reasoning, wasn't published until after the public hearing was over. And it didn't explain the reasoning. I got a copy via public records request, and the copy I got is different than the one currently posted to the website, and I've documented those differences here, and I'll leave those for you. This kind of sloppiness isn't new, and it obviously can be expensive, especially with lawyers who charge over $400 an hour. It happened with the D.R. Horton deal, too, not following state laws in obvious ways, as I spoke about in the March 2023 meeting, though not at all captured by the minutes, but you can find it on YouTube. I'm tired of it. The most important thing you do as council is make decisions about how to spend our money. There are state laws that should be followed to make the process of spending our money transparent. This isn't a private business you're running, and I would hope you wouldn't think of it that way. After all, no business is guaranteed income. We, the citizens, guarantee Jamestown has income by paying our taxes. It seems simple enough to ask that you all follow the state law in making that process of spending our taxes transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody else signed up for a public comment?
Nobody else signed up.
Okay. We will go on to old business, and we have a public hearing for consideration of amendment to Chapter 17 signs in the Land Development Ordinance, and the Planning Director, Anna Havelock, is going to present that case.
Good evening. At the April 18th meeting, Councilmember Rayborn directed staff to review a sign ordinance, specifically in regards to digital sign ordinance. Staff have reviewed that sign ordinance, and I will present our recommendations in the planning boards on that area. Additionally, anytime there's an ordinance update, we use that opportunity to ensure any other areas of the ordinance that need clarifications or changes are addressed as well. So in addition to the sign ordinance, I will be covering a couple other sections. I'm going to do an overview of all of those changes, and afterwards we can go back and address anything specifically. So on page 66 of your packet is when this starts. 11.5 is landscape plan procedures. There was an update that should have been made with the 160D changes. The percentage allowed for performance bonds cannot exceed 125%. We had it at 150%, so that has been changed. Moving on in Article 17, which starts on the next page of your packets. On page 68, the addition of or 7, your changes are in red in your packet, has been added under exempt signs, which is except as permitted under section 6 or 7. The town attorney has reviewed all of these, and she did have a change to that. She wanted to make sure it said 17.6 and 17.7 to those lines. On the next page, staff have made some clarifications to the exemption for election signs, development signs, and flags. These all go into further detail in the next section of the sign ordinance, where it would also make most sense for the general public to go looking for it if they wanted to find information on it. So this section now says for all of these, development signs shall be permitted for subject to standards found in the later sections, so they know where to look for it. Some of these were already repeated, as noted in the highlights, and some had conflicting requirements, and those have been corrected. And I'll go into those, of course. In the warning signs, we've added the allowance of clearing bars to be placed at warning height. Previously, the way it was written, it would have been limited to 8 feet, even if the clearance was above that. So if it's a 9-foot bar, it would have to be at 8 feet technically. So we wanted to clarify that. The addition of feather has been added to the description of pennant flags. Use of temporary basis has been removed as they're not permitted in temporary or permanent. Development projects have been clarified, the signage to be 36 feet signs as projects are under active building permits. This corrects a conflicting size requirement where in one section it said 6 feet and one section it said 36 feet. The language on election size have been clarified to be more user-friendly. Additionally, the limit of signs have been removed. The way it was written previously, it was unclear even to me if a limit of 3 signs was for residential or non-residential zoning. However, the time limit remains of 30 days prior and 7 days following. Those will remain. The limit on signs has been removed. Practically, town staff and code enforcement, we are not going to go pull up election signs. It's not going to be a good look because someone will say you're supporting one or the other. This is made sense how we did it. This next section was not in the planning boards. I thought of this afterwards, so this has not been reviewed by them, but I don't expect it to be a big issue. Murals. There has been, I live in Winston-Salem, there has been a lot of signs that are being painted on buildings, and what they've done is they call them a mural, and you fill up the entire sign on the side of a wall. I want to make sure that doesn't happen in Jamestown, that you could call something a mural, but it's actually a sign. This defines what a mural is, and if it's applied, also a mural that contains any brand name, product name, letters of the alphabet spelling or abbreviating the name of a product, company, profession, business, logo, trademark, trade name, or commercial messaging are considered advertising signs, and those aspects must meet the sign requirements as defined in 17.7. That does not mean you cannot paint a mural. You can paint whatever beautiful mural. I would love to see more like the Soaps Ladies, but if it says business, that is a sign, and that section of the mural should meet our sign ordinances. Moving forward, you'll see some bullets have been changed to numbers and letters. That is for easier referencing. Digital signage. Previously, digital signage was allowed in all zoning districts in Jamestown. And there have been some complaints, as mentioned in public comment and during the planning board's public hearing, about flashing signs near residences. Because they were permitted everywhere, they were adjacent to residences. They would also have been allowed in our downtown district on Main Street, which could obstruct the view of calling it a small, quaint downtown and friendly area. And the historic be updated with newer signage. So pulling from examples from other local governments, the American Planning Association and the School of Government, for examples, I determined, and staff determined, that Jamestown lacked regulations on was location. You obviously need to protect the residential and historic towns from ambient light and modern signage that clash with our historic downtown. With that in mind, staff recommend that digital signage be allowed in just 3 zoning districts: civic, commercial, and bypass. The planning board recommended further limiting the signage time for properties adjacent to residential to be turned off at 8 p.m. Previously, it was to be turned off at 10 p.m. So the addition was that, and you'll see it in red, signs located adjacent to residential properties shall be off between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. daily. Adjacent means anything in front, behind, diagonal, next to it. The display time has been lengthened from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. A limit of 4 lines of information has been added. Language has been added to allow for digital signs that are not changeable copy, menu boards, time temperature boards, and fuel stations, so that they are permitted in any district as well, that it would be allowed. So I do want to make clear that spinning signs, flashing signs, extremely bright signs have not been permitted, are still not permitted. It was mentioned that a sign down at the doctor's office he has recently set it to go off at 8 p.m. After the public hearing at the planning board level. He said, I didn't realize, and he started turning it off at 8 p.m. It was reset with the storm, and so we have been contacting him to make sure it gets set to the timer again. But I do want to clarify, if there is a spinning sign or a flashing sign, even if it is existing right now, it is not allowed to be flashing and spinning and changing in those time periods. And please contact planning staff and we will address them through code enforcement. The next page on the bottom of the chart is added the regulations for digital signs as I've just reviewed. Moving on page 81, temporary signs. The allowable zoning districts have been updated to list zones so that rather than saying all commercial and mixed-use district, which leaves some room for interpretation, is clearly defined. There's addition of the word feather to flag types and the removal of banners. Banners are specifically allowed in this section, so that was certainly conflicting information. Finally, in this section, removal of specific types of organizations that are allowed to have banners displayed, as these are typically covered in zoning. And there was one more change. Some bullets have been changed to numbers and letters. The next section in your packet is on page 85 in pet waste. This hasn't been updated to ensure that as we have dogs running around in our future dog park at Jamestown Park, that it is allowed in our ordinance. There is an update to this section as recommended by the town attorney upon her review to change the wording to dogs running at large instead of just dogs at large. And then finally, the permitted use table has 2 updates. The use of duplex was duplicated as listed as dwelling duplex and 2-family dwelling, twin home, or duplex. So those have been combined to one use and updated in the table. Additionally, the allowance of fences has been added to parks and recreation. The planning board did hear these updates at their June 6th planning board meeting and made a recommendation to approve these changes with the addition of the digital signage time requirement adjacent to residential properties. Planning board found the updates to be consistent with a comprehensive plan. I'm happy to answer any questions or dive deeper if you do before your discussion, and it is a public hearing.
Did y'all have any questions before we open the public hearing?
Just one. In regards to murals, based on the way it's written, does that mean no words whatsoever can be in the mural?
No, it would only be a commercial branding, messaging.
So branding of a business nature, something along those lines would be no?
Yeah, if you can't put a giant Pepsi logo on the side and call it a mural.
There you go.
If you wanted to, you could come forward with a signage plan to council if it was against what's currently written.
Gotcha. That's all I had. Thanks, Anna.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Okay, so I would like to open the public hearing to anyone that would like to speak regarding the amendments to Chapter 17, Signs in the Land Development Ordinance, and the other minor changes. Please come up, state your name, and you have an address and 3 minutes to give us your opinion. No one wishes to speak? Okay. Then I believe, council, since our mayor is not present, we have talked about continuing this public hearing until September because we'd like us all to be present when we take a vote. If that pleases the council, then I would entertain a motion to continue that public hearing.
I move to continue the public hearing to the September 19th council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center without further advertisement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. And we will bring this back up in September, so please, if anyone else is interested in speaking, let them know to be here September 19th. Okay, thank you. Now we have some new business, a presentation regarding the ISO, or Insurance Services Office, rating for Pinecroft Sedgefield Fire Department, and Chief Carson.
Good evening, Council. So I'll bring exciting news tonight. So back in November, we were re-rated for our ISO rating. That's done every 5 years by the state of North Carolina through the State Office of Fire Marshals, where the Office of State Fire Marshal is who conducts the ISO rating in North Carolina. And so what that is it breaks us down into 4 areas that it looks at and grades us on as a fire department. That's emergency communication systems, fire department in general, which encompasses our response, our training, testing, our equipment, really looks at everything throughout the department as far as what we're doing as a fire department. It looks at our water supply. When we're testing hydrants annually, we do that because that affects our ISO rating to do so. If we're not testing them, we're not ensuring that they're adequate and able to be used whenever we do need them in the event of a fire. So that is part of what we are graded on as well. And lastly, community risk reduction. So how much involvement we're having with community outreach, how much fire prevention we're trying to do out in the communities, in our district, our fire investigations and inspections that are taking place in the commercial and industrial setting. So all that is looked at when ISO comes in. So with that, we were rated back in November, and it takes a while to get that rating back. We were notified in May of our rating, and we do have we continue to keep an ISO rate of Class 2 in the town of Jamestown.
Nice.
And we also lowered our rural rating to a Class 2 as well. So we're a Class 2 district-wide. So that's exciting for us as a fire department to be able to prove to the community and to the taxpayers that what we're out here doing each and every day makes a difference in the community. And what ISO looks at, what that means for the community and the taxpayers is basically a rating that determines how well a fire department can protect the community and a home. Insurance companies use the score to set home insurance rate, commercial rates, to show a lower grade is less likely to be affected as much in the event that it is involved in a fire. So with that, one thing that I think is important is that will take effect September 1st. So in the town of Jamestown, that ISO rating stays the same. But it is important just to check with your home insurance provider to make sure that it is what it's supposed to be. Because oftentimes that we do hear of community and citizens that it doesn't seem like it's right, and they call and check with their homeowners, and it's not right. Because each company has to put that in manually and verify that stuff. So just make sure, it's a good thing to follow up and make sure of, with that rating the way it is, to make sure that you're getting the benefit of on your insurance to reflect the same. So I did provide that chart. That chart that you have a handout of is just a snapshot of how Jamestown is graded separately than our rural district. So Jamestown has its own grade, obviously, as an ISO Class 2. And that shows how our fire department in Jamestown compares with in those four categories and areas amongst our peer departments, the state, nationwide, and then as a department in whole. And in those four areas that we outlined, how we stack up, and you can see that we are at the top of the chart on all of those. So we appreciate the support that the council and the town gives us, and we're happy and proud to be able to present that Class 2 rating. And that, like I said, that takes place for another 5 years, and then we'll be regraded again.
Okay, great.
Nice job.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for keeping the community safe.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
That's a discount that folks can really bite into. You see it, there's a physical change in an actual bill down.
Yeah.
So,
That's
good
always
job.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now we have a request for a motion of support for the T-Mobile Hometown Grant. And I think Rebecca Ashby and Scott Coakley, are y'all going to tag team this together? Okay.
Good evening, Council. I would like to ask for your support for our application to the T-Mobile Hometown Grant. The T-Mobile is offering 25 grants per quarter through the year 2026 for up to $50,000. And we're looking at some things we might be able to use that money for. And if you remember, we had in the budget for a line marker to do the soccer fields with, and that was one of the items that got cut, so we thought that would be a good fit. We were also going to look at getting some 4 portable bleachers to put at each of the fields and 8 team benches to give it more of a hometown baseball field or soccer field experience for the kids. So the grant doesn't require a match, and they award up to 25 per quarter. So we would like to apply for that grant. And I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Having been at the Parks and Rec meeting when this was first proposed, I first off applaud the effort being made to try to find additional funds.
Yes.
Because obviously, we've gone through a lot of hoops this year, and quite frankly, that line marker would save a lot of manpower. So if we're able to get that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did say this is something that we could do, if we get turned down this time, we could do it quarterly.
That's
so we could
correct,
literally
because
keep.
there's still several quarters available.
Yeah.
So if we don't make it this round, we can always reapply for future, cycles. of
trying.
grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to get what we don't ask for.
Exactly,
That's-
And
exactly.
Scott was telling me earlier this week about how many times he has to mark the field for upcoming games. This machine can do it in about 23 minutes, whereas currently it's taking two of them to mark one field takes them about 4 hours to line it all out and everything.
That's 7 hours of salary
It's a
savings.
lot,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge savings.
Yeah, use their time a lot more efficiently to move on to other things. Yeah, well, I think it's great to be able to find a way to get it, because it was a wonderful idea, Scott, you had, but the budget was so tight, we just could not do it. But, when's the deadline to apply?
September 3rd, the end of September is when the next cycle ends, and then I believe it's a 60-day window before they notify the winners.
Oh, okay.
And then it'll open again October 1st, so.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Sounds like you got your ducks in a row.
I've been doing some work on it already, so I think we can get it done by the deadline for this quarter.
Y'all have any questions for Rebecca?
No, it sounds great.
I know it does.
So I've moved to support the T-Mobile Hometown Grant application as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, great. Good luck, guys.
Great job on that.
Be
Thank you.
anxious to hear.
Excellent.
And now we have the town manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Several major projects that are currently underway or nearing completion. The Recreation Maintenance Building is finalizing some interior components. They've started painting in there. Paul and I did visit that area today. They're working on it. I'd say hopefully early, mid-September, we'll see the guys moving into that building.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Matt? Is there any kind of penalty clause in the contract if they don't have it completed by a certain date?
Paul, do you know?
Because it keeps delayed. I just wonder if there was a clause in there. Yeah, if there's a deadline, I'd be charging. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Town hall renovations are pretty much complete. There's a couple of little minor items that they're finalizing, but they're probably 95 to 99% complete at this time. Golf course bathrooms are, again, Paul and I were out there today, I'd say 85 to 90% complete. They have actually gone ahead and painted it. The paint matches or very closely matches the clubhouse paint. They were painting the interior. Tile goes in next week, and the fixtures should follow very shortly after that. So we anticipate that they'll be up and very, very soon. We had a fantastic turnout for Music in the Park on Tuesday the 1st for National Night Out. We do appreciate everybody who came out. And our next event will be Friday, September the 1st, and featuring 80s Nation. That's the decade that never dies. And, I've seen council members out there sporting mullets and things like that. So we're anticipating a really nice big crowd for that, provided the weather's good. They are going to have an opening act. His name is Corey Stewart, who does a one-man band 80s version. So he's going to be out there. You can check our Facebook site for all the complete details on who's going to be there for our food and beverage vendors. As we've talked before, the city of High Point will no longer accept plastic bags for yard waste pickup. The staff have sent out all of our customers a notice in the mail related to those changes. I'm pleased to say that as we have visited different areas in town, we've noticed that people are making that transition over to the I don't want to say Lowe's bags, but the paper bags, thank you, that are at the curb right now. The composting yard waste bags are fine. Cardboard boxes are not. We still have a few people using the plastic bags, and that's fine up until, I think, September the 1st is when High Point is no longer going to accept that type of material. We have ordered, and my understanding is that they should be here any day now, the toters. That's an optional. Use the card is an option for folks. I think we've had close to 200 pre-sales on that.
That was going to be my question.
Look at that, I'm just
Yeah.
anticipating. I think we've had close to that, 200 pre-sales on that, which I think we estimated at about 300 in the first wave. We have ordered about 600 carts, so we have some stock. If people see it and they like them, we can fix you right up. As you know, the town was awarded a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant this past winter, and construction on the park will begin in the coming weeks, starting with removal of the basketball and volleyball courts. And these renovations are going to take several months. Scott and I have talked about putting out some signs out there to let people know why we're doing it, what we're doing, because not everybody is aware of, what's going on. So we're trying to communicate that with the public. We do ask that folks be patient because we're going to make some great improvements out there, but it'll take a little bit of time. I have a couple of add-ons here. I did want to thank Scott. He was instrumental in getting some new signs at the golf course and park entrance. As you know, the
I saw them put those up today, yeah.
Jamestown Golf Association and the ladies group, which is Jamestown Park Ladies Golf Association. This is their home course, and we wanted to identify that by putting out some signage there and letting folks know that this is their home course. Fall litter sweep is September the 23rd, 9 to 11 a.m. I would ask that if you would contact Elizabeth Greason here at Town Hall, either stop by or just give a call to 454-1138. She is interested in signing up groups or individuals to come out and help do a litter sweep on Saturday, September 23rd.
Hope it will be cooler then.
I hope it is cooler. I did want to take a moment to say thanks to all of the employees who helped with the storm. As you can tell, with the tree that fell in the front of Town Hall, we've had quite a bit of damage in town. But I know our public services, our golf, and our recreation staff are out there doing a lot of cleanup, and we will continue to do cleanup. So if you have questions about how that operation works, just give us a call at Town Hall.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because there is still a whole lot of debris and people still cleaning up.
There is still a lot of
And,
debris out there, yes.
So if you have an excessive amount, do we have to call for a pickup, and is there a charge, or?
No, so public services staff have decided for at least the next couple of weeks, they're going to try to run extra routes as they have availability to do that, trying to get that up. We have had several people that were disappointed that they use a contractor to put out waste, yard waste. We still have a policy that says if you hire a contractor to do work on your property, still have that contractor take that away. So we're working on educating folks on that. But we are continuing to try to pick that up just as fast as we can. There's several neighborhoods that were hit harder than others, especially Original Forestdale. In the vicinity here near Town Hall, they got hit pretty hard, so.
And I was going to say, I've seen at least in Original Forestdale, there's a lot of plastic bags.
Yes.
So hopefully you will pick those up
We will.
until September 1st.
We will still pick those up until September the 1st. We are trying to do everything we can to get people to transition over, just to get that education component out there early, so that they're not surprised when September 1st comes.
I have to give a loud shout out to the folks that were, the rain hadn't even stopped yet. You guys were out there on the trucks and all in with them as well, and picking up and sawing and doing all the things to get streets accessible. It was a good thing to see. And then, of course, your neighbors jumped out and started helping as well. But just the fact that you and your staff and everybody had them out there, the clouds hadn't even parted yet. You were picking up limbs.
Paul did, and I think I shared this with you all, Paul wanted to make sure that the council knew, and so the public should know, that they really appreciate, public services really appreciated the neighbors who were out there as safely as they could, trying to help clear streets and open streets up. We have a very limited staff, so it takes them a while in a major event like that to get to every street. So we do appreciate people who helped out, so.
They did a really good job, and they were very timely also, because, I mean, all down my street, there were piles of half trees all over the place, and they were right on top of it within 2 days. And phenomenal job. Really appreciate all the effort that was made there. Although I did think that Katie and her chainsaw was going to take care of this tree out here.
Did
I'm just saying.
the golf course lose any trees?
They had a little bit of damage, but
It
not
was a wind
nearly
came
as
through
much
here.
as original Forestdale, Forestdale
Yeah.
East, Forestdale North. Those neighborhoods were hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate not to have any major damage at the golf course.
Okay.
And finally, there is some work going on around the library fountain. If you're aware of that walkway there, it has been damaged by the crepe myrtle roots that were there. We have our staff, they're going to remove the trees that were there. We have a landscape company that's going to help replace those with trees that will not cause us that same type of damage with the roots to the walkway. And we are planning to have all of that done before the Old School Association does their barbecue this fall,
Yeah.
in the end of September. And that's all I have, unless you have further questions for me.
Is there a possibility in some of that walkway to have sections that could be allowed to have brick pavers put in?
For donations,
Yeah,
I'm sure we could. Yeah, that's shouldn't be a problem for us.
there's a lot of
Brick
support
pavers.
for the library, and,
Yeah.
some folks might want to put some bricks out in front of it. Is it going to still maintain the circle?
Yes, it'll look the same, it'll operate the same, and hopefully it'll just be flat.
You
and
can
not
just
a
have some
big-
cutouts, some wedges like a pizza out of it here and there to,
It's also something I know that Councilmember Rayburn is on the board there, that they could talk about doing amongst themselves if they would like to as a fundraising opportunity.
Right, yeah.
For the Old School Association. We could work with them to help install the bricks if they sell them. So, certainly.
Thanks for that, Lawrence.
Yeah.
that's my one for the month.
Good idea.
And Matthew, quick question. So as far as the bathrooms out at the golf course, refresh my memory, they'd been standing since 1974, right? Or sometime thereabout?
Thereabouts,
Yeah,
right.
so the reason I bring that up is that there was an incorrect comment made earlier about us just, putting new bathrooms in, when in fact realistically these bathrooms haven't really, aside from some maintenance, haven't seen any TLC as far as, we need to do upgrades to them the whole time.
I'll say this, they exceeded their life expectancy.
Yeah.
And then some, I mean, yeah. So I just thought that was, needed to be pointed out. This was not something that was arbitrary. It was something that was very badly needed.
Correct. We've been identifying these needs over the years, and, we're pushing through as much of that type of project work as we can, given our budgets.
All right, and given the budgets, I mean, the other piece of this also that was spoken to was our decision-making process over the budget itself, was that, to maintain these facets, to maintain the assets of the town, we have to adjust to those price increases, and those are going to be things we have to speak to. So none of that was arbitrary. I just felt like that comment was totally incorrect, out of context.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Matt.
very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do any council members have any committee reports?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see, so we had a Parks and Rec meeting on August the 7th here in the Civic Center, and the primary thing that was discussed was the motion for support for the T-Mobile hometown grant, which y'all have already heard about. Again, high props to you guys for actually taking the time to look for this and to try to find something that helps offset, because it would be a great add if we can, get the something that automates the line process out there and minimizes the manpower. Correct me if I'm wrong, that also has the ability to make like emblems and such in the middle of the field too, doesn't it? So depending on who's out there, we can represent accordingly and actually. That's it. Yeah, so there's some interesting possibilities there down the road. So other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot else, but, it was good to have the new group together,
Yes, yeah,
so.
You guys have anything? No. Well, we did have a TAC meeting this morning, and I think I had told y'all, well, it's been a couple of months ago, where we were looking to approve DOT has all these acronyms and stuff, but it's the spot P 7.0 spot priority list, project list. And, but we did approve that today, and Jamestown does have a bike and pedestrian plan on that list. So that will be submitted to DOT in Raleigh in September. But it will be like probably a year to come back to TAC to do our scoring again. So you're looking, if this is approved, if it's on the final cut of it being winter of 2025. But this is the first leg to get on the transportation improvement project. So I think it's wonderful, and I will certainly let you know if I'm around when it's approved. Yeah. Okay. And that's basically all we talked about. Was there anyone else that signed up for public comment?
No, I signed up.
Okay. Did anybody have any other business?
No, ma'am.
Well, I was just going to mention to Paul or to Matt, I know that the public services, you've gone all around town, you've seen everything, but there is a big tree that's down on Oakdale Cotton Mill on the building itself. Now, I know that's private property, but them being an out-of-state owner, I hope their real estate agent has told them that. If not, if there's no movement, you might want to just shoot them a picture and let them know there is a big tree on the old mill.
We can do that.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other business, we'd like to have a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
That's per,
Per General Statute 143-318 to discuss matters related to attorney-client privilege, 301 Lee Street.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? Okay, then we shall adjourn to the next room.
my goodness. Motion to go back into
Open session.
open session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
To
opposed?
adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn. Lawrence and then John, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay.
All
Thank you
right,
all so
cool.
much.
That was easy.